All right, now we are live. Welcome everyone to a special live influence stories with Oscar Puig-Corve, who is a realtor and who knows South Florida like the back of his hand. And with everything that is going on in South Florida and the real estate market, and so many different news coming out of this very movable real estate market right now in South Florida, I think it was time to have a live discussion about what to do, what not to do, what is happening. Is it true that we're being invaded by all the New Yorkers? And now this is the conversation we're going to have in the next 20 minutes to talk about the state of real estate right here in South Florida. Oscar, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I love the name Influence Stories. It's a great name, and you always have to have good marketing when you're going to do something. So congratulations. And it's true, we're being invaded. And the good thing is that we're going to have great New York pizza in South Florida very soon.
To join all of the wonderful eateries we have already in South Florida.
That's right. It's excellent. It's an excellent news. It's said to be that 1,000 people are moving to Florida every single day. That makes 365,000 or so.
Wow, to Florida.
To Florida, right? Of course, the hot markets are the bigger cities like Miami or Miami-Dade as a county, Broward County, Pinellas County, where Tampa is, and Orlando area. So that's the news. It's good news for us, especially coming from a year with pandemic and kind of like a recession or so. So it's been great news for us as a county, and it also brings some headaches, which is low inventory, which we'll talk about that a little bit, of course. So
I wanted to let everybody know that we welcome your comments, your questions, what you want to talk about, anything that you may want to discuss during the next 20 minutes or so that we can be able to answer your questions right here with Oscar, who is a professional in real estate and who does many things, and you will know he wears many hats. You can see all of our social media channels right here, and you can follow us and continue this conversation with Oscar through all of his social media channels. So let's talk about, let's repeat a little bit about who is moving down here. Is it just New Yorkers, and why this explosion in Florida, and where are they moving to?
Well, it's not New York only, it's Northeast. And we're also tracking people coming from California. As a matter of fact, a lot of my investment in attracting new customers, it's being spent in those areas. So those are the areas that people are running away from, maybe the cold. Now that people can work more from their home, they're looking for more space so they can work from family-oriented areas, great weather like the one in Florida all year round, a lot of space, like I mentioned, and security. We have a state that has it's very secure, it's very safe, and and also the tax reason. There's a tax reason behind it. Some of the states have double or triple taxes on your income. So when you come down here, you pay only the federal tax, and of course our taxes in the state are low.
That's very important. I mean, taxation, Florida doesn't have a state income tax. Huge deal.
Yeah.
I mean, how do property taxes compare in Florida to other states, though? Because we're always complaining about our real estate taxes.
Yeah, it varies. If you're in the urban core, you're going to have higher taxes, of course. There's more expenses as counties, the bigger there is. And when you're going to more rural or more suburb areas, you're going to have less property taxes. So it varies throughout the state. That's something that's very easy to find out. And, let's say that you're in the middle of Florida, maybe an hour away from Orlando, you're going to have lower taxes that you're going to have in Tampa, or the same thing if you're in Homestead. I mean, not in Homestead, if you're in another part outside of the city of Miami or outside of any of those areas that are urban. I live in the city of Doral, and we're proud to say that we have one of the lowest millage rates in the county, and that's great, because when you multiply and do the math, it comes out lower than other areas, and that's been significant for us as well.
Quería agregar que Oscar también habla español, es compatriota, es venezolano, y si alguien tiene alguna pregunta en español, se la podemos, por supuesto, contestar el día de hoy. Así que, Oscar, dinos un poquito lo que dijiste un poco sobre quién se está mudando aquí a Florida. Vamos a hacer esto un poquito bilingüe, porque Influence Communications es una firma bilingüe, así que vamos a hacer esto. Y estamos en el sur de la Florida, buenísimo. Y somos bilingües.
Sí, claro que sí.
Y a veces trilingües, así que...
Trilingüe.
Así que háblame un poquito sobre quién se muda, quién se está mudando a Florida, qué está pasando en el mercado de Florida, por qué todo el mundo quiere vivir ahora en la Florida.
Es muy positivo, como te dije en inglés, lo que está pasando en la Florida. 1,000 personas aproximadamente se mudan al sur de la Florida diariamente, del noreste de los Estados Unidos, donde los impuestos son mucho más altos, donde hay menos seguridad, donde el espacio es más pequeño por el dinero que inviertes, y también del lado de California, donde también tiene la misma situación. Muchos de Silicon Valley se han mudado para el sur de la Florida. No solamente personas, pero también las compañías las mudan para acá. Entonces, todo eso está afectando muy positivamente, especialmente, ya que estamos hablando en español, cuando vemos que es una Latinoamérica que por muchos años ha sido la inversión típica, vamos a decir, de bienes raíces al sur de la Florida, que hoy en día está muy apagada económicamente por todos los problemas políticos, sociopolíticos que tienen. Hemos tenido ese reemplazo natural sin buscarlo, pero ha sido por varias razones. Como dije, el impuesto, la pandemia ha hecho que las personas puedan trabajar desde la casa. Entonces dicen, bueno, yo puedo, aunque la empresa esté en Nueva York, puedo vivir en la Florida, en un espacio mucho más grande, donde tenga patio para mis niños, donde las escuelas son muy buenas y por un precio o igual o menor y pagando menos impuestos. Todas esas cosas se han pasado, y eso para nosotros como comunidades es inclusive mejor cuando tú tienes personas locales mudándose dentro de tu propia ciudad. Entonces, es muy positivo lo que está pasando.
Okay, I'm going to switch back to English.
Okay.
And I want to ask you about the inventory. So today, actually, I have a news article right here that's talking about an unprecedented housing shortage in South Florida sparks a feeding frenzy. How do you feel about this idea of there being an unprecedented housing shortage? Is that true? And how does that affect people that are looking for a house now or that want to sell their house right now?
Well, it is true. Number one, like I said, 1,000 people moving into the area every single day, it's going to make a house shortage. So what happens is when this is all happening suddenly, so there was no preparation for it. So if you're a builder or a developer, you weren't thinking of developing 1,000 homes or 2,000 homes at one time. So we're relying right now on the inventory that existed during the pandemic, let's say. So once all these elements started happening that created that move of 1,000 people a day to the area, it automatically creates a shortage. So we do have a shortage. So if you're selling your house or if you're thinking of selling your house, it is the time. Now you also have a problem finding a house to move to.
Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go?
Also, if you're someone that had invested in a rental property as an investment and you have it right now, it is a great time to sell that property, put the money somewhere else, and wait for the right time or the right opportunity to reinvest that money in real estate. So you have those two. Now, it's never a bad time to buy. You're always going to find a deal. The only difference is this time it's going to take a little longer. So I always think and say and practice that whenever you want to buy your own home, your dream home, is never a bad time. Whenever you want to invest, it's never a bad time. You just got to be patient during this time. And there's ways that we use to help somebody that wants to sell their house at a high price and also buy at the same time. For instance, we lease back. It's a way of, okay, we sold it, so the other person has to wait until you find the other home. So meanwhile, you close the house already, but you're paying rent to that buyer until the other opportunity comes along. So there's ways that we can always help with. But remember, not only is the right time to sell because of value, you're also getting, when you're buying, you're getting the best rates ever. Even though they went up just a tiny bit, it's the best rates you're going to find in 40 years or more. So it is the right time. It is the right time to buy. It's the right time to sell.
So let's talk about, and that probably is contributing to the shortage. The fact that the rates are so great, people are buying. Like I told you before off camera, I am actually in the process of moving. This had been in the works for a couple of years, and it just so happened to be now. And I gotta say, I got really lucky because I was able to find a house in the area that I wanted. I did the lease back where I sold my house, and we lease until we can close on the next one, because obviously we're not simultaneous.
Right.
For example, the people that we're buying the house from are just renting a townhouse from their friends until they're able to find a house. Of course, they're downsizing, we're upsizing, so it's everybody's kind of moving in and trying to figure out what to do next. And a lot of people actually commented as we posted that we were going to have this show to find out, what about my next move? Is it better to rent and deal, have the landlord deal with maintenance issues, or is it better to buy? And what is better for my money? What is a better investment? And buy, and you have to deal with those issues. You're gonna go, oh, if you go from renting your whole life to buying a house, you go, oh, the roof has a problem, call the landlord. Guess what? You're the landlord. So tell us a little bit about why even bother buying? Why not just rent for your entire life?
Well, to me, it's I will never suggest to someone that the right thing to do for their lifelong strategy is to rent. You're giving the money to somebody else. I love to rent my properties, and that's fine, but I will suggest to anyone to buy, because you're investing in your own property. In your own, you can always, it creates equity. Equity is a savings that you don't even feel, and you can use that at the right moment, or when there's trouble in the way or headaches in the way, which we all have them. We all had them, and hopefully they're gone. But it is the right investment to do, and not only one, to create wealth. It's important, like I said, and also continue buying. You can buy a small apartment. You start with a small apartment. When you're ready to move to, or like you're doing, you're ready to go into a larger home. Then you leave that space and rent it, and you create that wealth. When you retire, you have rents from 3 or 4 or 5, as many as you can buy, and that's to me, that's the right way to think of retirement, investment, etc.
There is an issue, however, for example, even for people who are trying to downsize, they can sell their house very high, get a lot of money for it now. But of course, you're trying to downsize, and then you end up buying, let's say you go from a 5-bedroom because you had kids, your kids left, you're going to a 3 or a 2-bedroom, but the taxes, now your property taxes are going to either be the same or even higher. How does that work? Is there a way to be able to save money on taxes? What do you tell your clients when they're facing with that situation?
Well, taxes is a formula that is used. It's every $1,000 of your home value is multiplied by a factor, and that gives you the amount of tax. So every city, if you're living in a municipality or city, it's different, and the county is different. So it all ends up being the value. Now, the property appraiser's office does not reevaluate every year the home based on what's going on in the market, because it will be a mess. It will be an up and down, just like the market is. So they use a formula as well. Every year they have a formula, and they use it to be able to do the assessed value that you see on the property appraiser's office. website, and that's how they value the homes. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they use a formula of 3% a year, and it all depends if you're a senior, if the home is a homestead or not, if it's an investment property. They use several parameters that to come up with a number. You have the right, like everything else in the United States, and thank God for the United States, that you have the right to appeal that value. And of course, you have to have proof that if the value is too high, that you can go in front of a magistrate and say, hey, this is a value of the house, not the one that's on the property appraiser's office. So that's always an option.
Right. In fact, it's funny you should mention that, because my neighbors in this house, we have the exact same house. It's a townhouse. So for some reason, they were getting taxed a lot higher than I was. And they're like, do you mind if I go complain? Because, I'm like, yeah, go, because they're not going to raise my taxes. And they did not, and they lowered theirs. So there is, you can go, appeal, you make a case, and that should always be something that people can think about when they're going to move. But definitely also, the moving is such a headache, but that's a different story for a different day.
Start packing.
Start packing. Oh, this is the reason people that watch this show know that usually my background is different. It's because there is a tower of boxes next to me right now. So I can't use that other wall. But at the end of the day, it's all about, like you said, finding your dream home, finding an investment property. This is a good time. Now, it used to be a lot of the times when the rates were fantastic, the banks weren't lending because it was fantastic for if you had like the perfect credit score. What have you seen in your transactions coming from banks? Are they lending money out? How is that going?
Well, the good news is that the lending right now is very solid. It's not like 2008 where we had, loans that were iffy or shady, whatever you want to call it. But nowadays, the loans are very solid. If you are a first-time buyer and you're buying a home worth $510,000 or less, you get FHA approval. If your rate is, I believe right now, 600. I'm not read your rate, your credit score. If it is 680 or above, and if you have lower than that, but it's not a big difference, we can always help. We have friends and colleagues that help you clean that credit. Sometimes those are mistakes or things that are very old that the credit score companies don't take out of your credit, and you're allowed by law to take them out and clean your credit. So we can help the clients with that service as well. So it is important to have a clean credit, or at least a 700, 720 will be great. But you can always buy a home with less, and we will help you and guide you through it. Yes.
Right. So they are lending money. I know there are ways to clean up your credit, which is great to be able to do it for many reasons, including buying a home, of course. And we actually had other questions coming in where people were saying, is the process to buy a house, like how long does it take? Walk us through, if you could just kind of clip notes it. The process of buying a home. How can somebody go about buying, say, their first home?
Well, you mentioned it, I think, prior to recording. It's an area. You first, you choose an area you want to move to. You write down the reasons why. For instance, you are a family with 2 children. And I know that because we're friends. So,
yes.
So
everybody that watches the show knows that, because I always talk about my daughters.
So to you, schools are important, of course. Most likely, parks and recreation it's an important factor in your decision. So that's you start pointing down what's important to you. It's not the same what's important to you to a retired couple. Like, I'm looking for a house, a specific area at the north side of FIU, on the south side of FIU. They have to have 2 garages. So we come up with that list of priorities. Now, you cannot have 20 non-negotiable priorities, because then I would suggest to build your own home. Find a land and build your own home.
Yeah.
But you can have some priorities that are flexible and some that you can never negotiate for whatever reason it is. So, for instance, for yourself, it's schools. Let's use that as an example.
100%.
So we come up with those answers. Of course, budget is an important situation. So we talk about your budget. We talk about your credit score. And of course, we're always going to advise to you that the less expenses you have, the better chances are going to be for you to get approved for a home. So that's kind of like the process that we use. We give a guide to the clients that have many other things. How many rooms you have, whether you have a pool, whether you have a fence, what kind of neighbors you have. You know, that's the not kind of neighbor, but I mean the neighborhood. I'm sorry, not the neighbor, but the neighborhood. You want a neighborhood that, and what I meant by that is, you want a neighborhood that is secure with a guard, and you know, you have to register it before you come in, or you want an open area. And those are, you know, when you're in a neighborhood, you have an association, you have to pay association, but everything is organized. So every yard in the front is going to look very similar. So it's very organized. Some people don't like that, but you have the risk of having a neighbor that has a yard that, you know, you don't like. Yeah. So, you know, there's pros and cons everywhere and everything that you choose. But the good thing is that there's plenty in South Florida, especially Miami-Dade, to choose from. You can live here on the water. Now, the only thing we don't have is a mountain. So if you're looking for a mountain, it's not the place.
You got to go somewhere else.
That's about it. Good food, good schools. We have everything except for the mountain.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm okay without that.
That's right.
So you mentioned areas. I also want to say, like I said before, you wear many hats. I've known you for a long time, probably longer than you remember. Because off camera, I'm going to remind you when I met you. I don't know if you remember, or maybe I'll just tell you now. But many moons ago, when I was a reporter and a foreign correspondent, I interviewed you because you had been named to the community council of a little city that's not so little anymore.
It wasn't a city at the time.
It wasn't a city at the time. You had a community council, and it is the wonderful city of Doral.
Yes.
And now you are a council member in the city of Doral.
I am.
So tell me a little bit about that and some of the, I understand you're also a director for the Florida Realtors Association.
Yes.
So what does that entail? What does it entail to be a director?
Well, starting with Doral, it's a city that I moved in with my family when my children were little. And I got involved in that, in an organization that pushed for incorporation. And that's when we met. And back in that time, we're now
before Doral incorporated.
Yes.
Yes.
That was we didn't have any parks.
No parks.
We didn't have any high schools. Our kids used to be bused to Miami Springs to take classes from 4 to 9 at night, and because we didn't have any high schools, so we pushed for incorporation because of that. Because we didn't have a local government that could represent us. Now we have a city with many parks, state-of-the-art parks and recreations department that is incredible. We have all of our schools, our 8 schools. We have very important schools. There's waiting list of 5,000 students in some of the schools here in Doral. In the charter schools, the public schools are incredible. Now we have faith-based private schools in the city. One even has a high school. We're opening up another charter school very soon. So all those things are important. We're focusing now a lot in the arts. We're going to open in a year and a half. We already started construction in arts and cultural arts
center
building.
Yeah. Where is that going to be located?
That's going to be next to City Hall. And
next we started construction on a very large park
which is called Central Park, and we're going to have an outdoor amphitheater there. We created our museum, the Doral Contemporary Art Museum, and hopefully soon we'll have a place to start it. So we already, throughout the last 17 years, we were able to create great schools and be part of that, great parks, a good, transparent, and responsible government. And now we're focusing on the arts. And we were missing a little touch that I think is important for people to move into the city, which we have right now, which is downtown Doral with live entertainment, great restaurants. We have City Place, which is another center that has it all. It has rentals, it has restaurants, it has a market. So those are important to have in the city. And of course, we have the International Mall. You can shop in our city. We have many supermarkets. We have great schools, like I said. So Doral is doing very well. It's attracting a lot of people. Of course, prices are a little high right now, but like again, I said, you can always find a deal or someone that needs to sell and take that opportunity. Just got to be patient.
And before we talk, since you brought up pricing, we actually have a question that I would like to answer.
Yes.
They're asking, how do I know the price of my home that I'm trying to sell? How do you know how to price a home that you're trying to sell?
Well, we find interesting is when we sit down with a client, they have always an idea of what the price is based on, well, that house is selling for X, and that's the price that I should sell for. But in reality, when you use the professional services of an appraiser, or you use the professional services of a realtor that has the knowledge of how to value a home, we're going to come up with the price of your home based on many criteria. One of them is what happened in the last 6 to 1 year with the sales of similar, the closest as possible homes as yours. Very similar in size, very similar on number of bedrooms, because you can have the same square footage but not the same number of beds, and that could be, that could make a difference. It just happened to us now on an offer that we did. The area also has a difference on value, whether it's close to the water or whether it is a family oriented area, or if it's an area that is more towards I don't know, like Brickell, that it's more building oriented, and there's a lot of clubs, etc. So there's different things that make up that value. So having a professional help you is the best way. You can always ask for your own price, but not necessarily it's going to be sold at that price. The other point that I want to bring, when you start selling your home, like right now the market is hot, so you can get more for it. But then comes the appraisal. Most people are going to put an offer with a contingency that the appraised value has to match the offer, or the asking price. I'm sorry. So when the appraisal comes in from the bank, because the bank has to, by law, hire an appraiser that it has no link to them or no favoritism to any of the parties. They're very individual. It's very regulated. So they come up with the price, and at this moment, right now, the appraisal is not coming too close to the value of the people are asking for. So what happens then? You have to have your down payment has to be bigger. So you got to be ready to have a bigger down payment than you usually would have to.
And what is pretty much, that's actually a really good point. How much should people be ready to put down as a down payment? Not money-wise, but percentage-wise.
If you're an FHA, like I mentioned, 510,000 and lower, first-time buyer, and approved with your level of credit at the right level, then you can put 3.5. If you're in conventional loans, it depends also on your credit and the value of the home and all that. But if everything is correct, then you can do 10 to 20%, depending on the institution that you're using, your credit worthiness, etc. So those are the two options, whether it's FHA or it's conventional. So the conventional, you're going to have to put more down payment.
And right now they're doing loans for 15-20% for down payment.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you haven't seen anything strange like, oh no, we're because the rates are so amazing, we're going to be requiring 40%, 50% down payment.
Only to foreign buyers. Foreign buyers
Yeah.
usually have to put down around 40%, 30 to 40% depending. And there's also another way of buying, which is private lending. There's lenders that are not regulated, that is private money, and normally the interest rates are a lot higher. They could range from 9 to 12% instead of 3% that you have on the regular market right now.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, but that's an option. And if
It's,
you're a foreign buyer, then maybe that's a good option for you as well.
Yeah, you can use it for a year and a half or two, and once you start building your credit, you can get a loan and pay off that private loans. Yeah, definitely.
So, is this a good time to buy an investment property? Is something that somebody's sending me through a private message. Is this a good time to buy an investment property?
Yes. We just sold an apartment to a couple that's investing, and we closed Friday actually. So it's always a good time. We found a good deal, and in a good place. So it's just you have to be patient and you have to be ready. What does that mean? You either have the cash or you have the loan. So every time you're going to look for a home, you got to be ready. Okay, I have the cash. I have 200,000. I have 500,000. I have $1 million in the bank waiting, or you're going to have the loan ready. So we have to help you get that loan ready. So when we put an offer, we're going to accompany that offer with the loan approval or the proof of funds, and then they're going to look at it, and we're able to close because the market is so hot that if you put an offer right now without approval, oh no, I'll do it once they accept the offer. It doesn't exist right now. You have to have that ready.
Yeah. Yes, and that's because the sellers know that the market is hot, and if you don't have your cash or your approval, then I'm just going to move on to the next one.
Of course,
exactly.
Yeah. So but still, you know that, and you asked about the opportunity investment. There's some people that need to sell for whatever reason.
Right.
They have to sell. It might be a little higher than other times, but still, the math never lies. We'll do the math for you. We'll help you, and whatever return you want, that's what we focus on. And if you're unrealistic in Miami, you will never get 20% in return on your money when you're investing in real estate. Not at this moment, but you can get a high percentage, which is a 9, a 7, which is a lot better than a bank that's giving you 1% or 1.3.
Yes, so, absolutely. Absolutely. And so I had asked you previously about your position as director of the Florida Realtor Association. What is the Florida Realtors Association? What do they do? Why do they exist? And what do you do there?
So what we have the National Association of Realtors, the Florida Association of Realtors, and the Miami Association of Realtors. So the Florida, it's over, each one is over the other one. So they, the main reason for an association to exist is to help property rights, people's rights, and realtors' rights. In my point of view, that's one of the most important things. We lobby as entities, the state and the federal government, to make sure that property rights are there. Most people don't have the time and don't get involved in that, but we do get involved and we do fight for your rights. Also for the rights of the realtors as independent contractors. Okay, so those are the two things that we do. The Florida Association of Realtors, the Miami Association of Realtors is the largest of all the associations in the United States, with 60,000 members. And what we do, not only license and help through the license process with the professionals, but also the continuing education, the support that we give realtors to become better professionals and to do the right thing. So that's kind of like, in a general nutshell, what we do.
Great. Well, Oscar, thank you so much. We're actually past the half hour, and I'd like to try to keep this brief, but sometimes we just can't. So I really appreciate your time.
Been great. I hope we can do it again.
Giving us all this information. I'm sure we'll have you back on in a few months so that you can tell us how the market is moving, what has changed, who else is coming to live in Florida. But yes, we're definitely lucky to be here through the pandemic and be able to go outside for one.
Thank you
That's
so much.
definitely been a blessing.
Thank you for having me. It's been great. The half hour passed so quickly.
So fast.
I didn't even notice. I thought it was like 10 minutes.
I told you.
It's been great. It was nice.
I did warn you. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you all. You can follow us in this social media down here, and I am going to also post it in the comments so that everybody can follow us as if they want to get a hold of you and be able to connect with you and get some more information and just learn about real estate and see what they want to do. Sell, buy, invest, all of that good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And please join us next week again on Thursday at 5 o'clock with a new guest, a different guest, and a different issue. And we welcome all the comments and we welcome all the suggestions for future guests. So make sure that you write to us and suggest some guests. Okay? Thank you, everyone, and have a fantastic day. Thank you. Bye, Oscar.
Bye.